was unable to take any celestial death. White sand.
Want to see? Well, this all. Till tonight, no water. To give up.
We'll reach the deck.
5 ships. At my age.
Still looking to you.
Looking to me for what? They are only as soft.
First make that distinction. Vessel. We were blown off course too much.
As the vibrant new FX, Hulu version of James Clavell's 1975 book Shogun gets underway, it's 1600 in Japan, a region marked by unease and the constant threat of bloodshed. Following the passing of the Taiko in power and the immaturity of his successor, 5 daimyo, or local warlords, fought it out for complete control over an army of fervently devoted samurai. Shogun was the old word for that type of unquestionable authority. And it was just a question of which daimyo, with his military power, cunning, and brutality, would take it. However, there was still another power center. A more recent one. Portuguese Catholics had monopolized commerce with Japan by the 17th century. They made money from trade in Japan mostly by hiding the nation from their sworn adversaries, the Protestant countries of Europe. And that's when a brazen, sultry Englishman appears as the pilot of a broken Dutch fleet in 1600. It is explained to Captain General Ned Dennehy that the clouds prevented him from taking any heavenly locations. Regarding Magellan's Pass, John Blackthorne, Cosmo Jarvis asserts that the Spaniard's rudder was correct. He has no food and no water, so the captain tells him it's time to start formulating preparations. Blackthorne is optimistic that they will land and arrive in Japan. The captain informs him they had more than 500 people on board and 5 ships. He is reminded by Blackthorne that 12 men still reside in the Erasmus. Blackthorne finds out that the captain feels they can't complete their job, therefore he wants to take the coward's route out. It's a glorious release, according to the captain. A Japanese guy wearing a cross steps outside and then makes out a boat in the mist. As they approach, samurai storm the boat. There are famished guys on board. A few seconds later, a group arrives at Osaka Castle. Instead, the shogun concentrates on the schemes of the royal, moral, and intelligent daimyo Lord Yoshi Toranaga, Hiroyuki Sanada, to undermine his opponents on the Council of Regents, an organization headed by the cunning Ishido Kazunari, Takehiro Hira, who reigns from the imposing and fortress-like Osaka Castle. Tokuma Nishioka as General Toda Hiramatsu and Yuki Kura as his impetuous yet enthusiastic son Yoshi Nagakado are 2 of Toranaga's devoted friends. But when bold and courageous ship's pilot John Blackthorne, Cosmo Jarvis, arrives in Japan, Lady Toda Mariko becomes Toranaga's most valuable asset. Anna Sawai, who plays Mariko, is a rising star who had the standout performance in Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. Fluent in Portuguese, Mariko was converted to Catholicism. She will also be the crucial conduit for communication between Toranaga, Lord of the Kanto, and Blackthorne the Barbarian, serving as a translator. And who knows? Maybe they won't all perish when the armies of the 4 other regents and the Portuguese priests turn against them if the cunning daimyo's long-term plan succeeds. They should keep themselves to their private chambers, requests Lord Ishido. They can't believe he arrived at all. They say that a wise man understands when his time is running out. The Council of Regents tells Yoshi Toranaga, Hiroyuki Sanada, how much they value his presence. He is reminded that Taiko passed away a year ago. They charge Toranaga with coordinating authority against the council, using his 6 challenged weddings as evidence. As Lord of the Kanto, Toranaga claims to be happy. He continues by promising that he will never be the first to disturb the calm. They claim that the heir's mother was brought to his castle in Edo, but he clarifies that his daughter-in-law is pregnant and that Lady Okiba's sister was involved. They imply that in order to ensure his protection, she has been kidnapped. Ishido, take Hirohira, is informed by Toranaga that there is peace at this moment. If Taiko were with them right now, Ishido wonders what he would say. What Toranaga believes would make him happy is that the five of them are still at odds. Ishido discloses that the council has decided to call for the lady's return or face impeachment. It is now necessary to reveal the traitors who want to take the heir's position of authority. 4 signatures are displayed to Toranaga, those of Lords Kiyama, Sugiyama, Ono, and Ishido. Because his master has done nothing wrong, Tadayoshi becomes irate. He is urged to take a seat by Toranaga, who clarifies that Ishido did not offend him. In order to perform seppuku and break his family line, Tadayoshi requests permission. Ishido thinks Toranaga's clan is prone to immature outbursts. There is no one more out of place in Japan than Blackthorn. The pilot, who is initially devoted to his Dutch employer's policy of pillage and conquest despite having little knowledge of its culture, quickly realizes how helpless he is in this region where non-Portuguese mariners have been searching for decades. Like the time Kashigi Omi, Hiroto Kanai, the ambitious junior lord of Ajiro, chops off the skull of an intruding Catholic villager in front of him, or the time he and the few other crewmen of the Erasmus are soaked in offal in their village holding cell. Cosmo Jarvis does a really good job portraying a defiant and wild-eyed character. He even carefully tuned his growly voice for Shogun. But what makes Shogun so compelling is everything that surrounds Jarvis's barbarian westerner. The striking soundtrack, the deft costume design, the acting that captures the subtle movements and hidden eye. The Erasmus is a valuable, possibly game-changing capture for Toranaga, who promptly takes the battleship from the graspy hands of Kashigi Yabashiga, Tadanobu Asano, his crude but formidable subordinate, with 20 guns, 200 muskets, and bags of looted money and bullion. We also meet Rodriguez, a very entertaining bearded Nestor Carbonell, a Spanish ship's pilot who has spent years working in Japan, when Toranaga sends Hiramatsu to Ajiro to pick up Blackthorn and transport him by ship to Osaka. Both of them speak Portuguese fluently, so they can converse in that language. Shogun substitutes English for Portuguese in the subtitles for Japanese speakers, although Rodriguez gives Blackthorn a lot of quick details about his life's journey. Similar to Shukume's philosophy that karma is like an attitude out here, and a clever little statement that refutes Blackthorn's assessment of Japan's madness. Rodriguez says to the English pilot, Zehi mo gozaimasen. One cannot resist the unseen path of nature. All we can do is accept our small part. He offers Toranaga a week to get the heir's mother out of Edo. Following the meeting, Toranaga discusses Tadayoshi's actions with a co-worker. He disapproves of all of this senseless dying. Toranaga is informed that after they get the heir's mother, they would all be put to death. Since he knows he would lose if they go to fight right now, he begs his buddy to examine the barbarian ship in Ajiro on his behalf. Everything is to stay on board the boat until Lord Yabashiga comes to check it out. As they arrive in Japan, the men find out on the ferry. The orders are said to still be in effect. Concerned about being hung are a few of the men. One says that's not how they pass away here. Fuji is informed by Tadayoshi that this is too much and that she must give up the boy. Fuji makes a suicide threat. When Toda Mariko, Anna Sawai, steps in, she finds out about Tadayoshi's deeds and how he forced their kid to die. Toda informs Tadayoshi that this is Toda Hiramatsu's granddaughter. Toda begs her to give up the child, but Fuji is certain that she needs a reason to exist. Toda claims that her goal in life is to carry out the directive to live. Yabashiga commands the inmates aboard the boat to rise and identify themselves. Try as Blackthorn might, he approaches their commander. One of them is ultimately taken prisoner by Blackthorn and his men so they may gain leverage. When he attempts to explain that they are traitors, he is attacked. Hiroto Kanai's character Omi tells Blackthorn to be nice through a translator. Omi eventually becomes enraged with Blackthorn and urinates on him. A guy is slain in front of him while he is being led away. Lord Yabashiga is presented with Blackthorn. Father Sebastio, Paul Monasder S.A., a priest, steps forward to provide their translation. Blackthorn chastises Sebastio for calling him a pirate right away. Blackthorn makes an effort to dissuade Yabashiga, Tabanobu Asano. He thinks Sebastio informed them that the only flag in Europe is the Portuguese one. As far as English sailors go, he is the first to reach his Catholic treasury. Yabashiga chooses board Blackthorn's vessel. Soon, Blackthorn and his men will be put to death. He screams that Catholics will not speak for him. Yabashige consents to provide him a place to live and a bath. He contends that Sebastian lacks evidence proving he is a pirate. To Sebastio, the pirate has to perish. Yabashige requests that Sebastio select someone else to take Blackthorn's position. Till Lord Yachiyo is called away for his writing lesson, Toranaga converses with him. Yachiyo informs Dioin that he would like to learn archery. After he leaves, Toranaga discusses Ashido with Dioin. She thinks he will murder his fief next. Toranaga swears to use his life to keep the heir safe. I don't think he can stop them. He is reminded by Dioin that people do not dread his name. Rather, his Minowara lineage is what they are afraid of. The ancestor's title is not what Toranaga wants. He doesn't want to be Shogun, even if he is informed it is time for one. That's a cruel holdover from a different period, according to Toranaga. When he disappears, Dioin queries what becomes to Yachiyo. One of the boat's soldiers is tossed into hot water while Omi observes. There is a great deal of mystery, hidden motivation, and customs that John Blackthorn doesn't comprehend or appreciate in Japan. Initially, at least. In this first episode, Shogun fits a lot of character backstory, setting of the political scene in 17th century Japan, foreboding about the pivotal conflict to come, and cultural insight. By the end, not only has Blackthorn learned a few words of Japanese, but we've also immersed ourselves in this complex world full of metaphor and flashes of morally violent action. Rodriguez informs the pilot, there's a saying out here that every man has 3 hearts. One in his mouth, visible to all. For his buddies only, he kept another in his chest. And a hidden heart that's buried far enough that nobody can uncover it. A guy needs to hide that heart in order to survive. English, you'll understand shortly. A man and a woman discuss how Yabashige's obsession with the instant of death has become apparent. Yabashige is shown around Kiki, Yuka Kori, the most renowned courtesan in Izu, as soon as he enters. Yabashige likes to see their sexual encounters. Blackthorn rises and has his meal. He smashes a window or door, then approaches a woman to inquire about his footwear. Yabashige informs Omi that the barbarian was stronger than the majority of Christians and that it took him a long time to die. Yabashige requests a poem be written on him. As Blackthorn is getting ready, he inquires about the man who is shouting. Yabashige gives Omi a tour around the community and compliments him on his work. Omi queries his uncle about whether or not he would inform Lord Toranaga of the barbarian ship. He finds out that Toranaga is confined to Osaka. They believe that once Toranaga dies, there will be a battle. It will be the Christian lords whom Ashido must battle with. They find out there's a ship here. They are approached by Hiramatsu, Tokuma Nishioka, who informs Yabashige that Lord Toranaga has asked him to wait for him in Edo. Hiramatsu inquires about the ship's gold, silver, and weaponry. Yabashige acknowledges that he ordered the removal of everything. Lord Toranaga seizes the ship and all of its belongings in his capacity as President of Foreign Affairs. Finally giving in, Yabashige volunteers to abandon the ship. As Hiramatsu departs, Yabashige, who was well versed in all matters, speculates that there could be a spy in the town. Blackthorn finds out that he is being sent to Osaka. To look after him, Vasco Rodriguez offers. Asking for the lizard's latitude, Vasco draws him to one side. Blackthorn receives word that one of his soldiers has been put to death. The remaining individuals are Yabashige's captives. The great Lord Yoshi Toranaga wishes to meet him, says Vasco. Vasco explains the significance of Shukame to him when they are traveling. Blackthorn disputes having pirate sympathies. They eventually come upon a storm. Vasco overturns the boat. If they wish to survive, Blackthorn calls out for them to pull. Blackthorn wants to search for Vasco when they survive. He debates Hiramatsu about it. Yabashige accepts to accompany Blackthorn. Because Blackthorn is an expert pilot, they don't want to allow him to descend when they locate him. In his opinion, Yabashige is reluctant to decline a challenge in front of his soldiers. Yabashige descends, stumbles, and cuts his skull. To get additional ropes, the others return. Vasco's continued respiration is confirmed by Yabashige. Fearing he would drown, Yabashige comes dangerously close to taking his own life, but the ropes save him. Convolves Toda Mariko and expresses gratitude to her for aiding Fuji. If the council decides to impeach him, she adds they would celebrate his death together. When the prisoner shows up, Toranaga wants her to interpret for him. They discuss the passing of her father, Akechi Jinsai, 14 years ago. Toranaga promises to give her a new mission. He asks if her loyalty to God would conflict with her service to him. Toda suggests she has more than one heart. Toranaga believes the barbarian could turn the tide. Blackthorn tells Vasco how Yabashiga was going to kill himself. Vasco shows him the rudder he found on his ship. He also discovered the list of Catholic bases that Blackthorn and his group intended to set on fire. Vasco forewarns him that as soon as he gets there, he would give them to the Portuguese. Blackthorn is adamant that he won't perish in this miserable place. Vasco advises him to consider if Osaka is the pinnacle of civilization by taking a close look at their city. In a world like this, does power belong to the guy you never see or the one who plans in the open? He learns about the proverb, "Every man has three hearts," from Vasco. They bring Blackthorn to Toranaga.